In the hardwood forests of North America, oaks are often the predominant species, and with over 400 species in the genus and 90 native to North America and Mexico, oaks could very well be considered the most prolific and most important collection of hardwoods on the continent. Oaks are very important for wildlife habitat and wildlife mast or food with their acorns, and provide the most native timber than any of the hardwood species. Oaks are typically divided into two groups, um, white oaks and red oaks. And this is commonly done for commercial purposes, for folks who are cruising timber, and for a number of other features that are different between them. Taxonomically speaking, there are a couple more types of oaks that I will touch on briefly in a moment. White oaks typically have very rounded lobes that don't have bristle tips, similar to the finger-like lobes of white oak, Quercus alba. Their acorns mature in one season, and just using acorns for identification, which you often have to do in the winter, it's very important to know that the inner wall of white oak acorn shells are not hairy. So any of the acorns in the white oak group that you encounter in the woods should not have hairy acorn shells. If you're inclined to sample the acorns of white oaks, you'll find them somewhat sweet. And if you look in the cross section or rings of a white oak that's been cut or recently cut, the wood pores are mostly occluded or blocked with structures called tyloses, which are outgrowths of a structure called the parenchyma, or the starch storing cells in the plant. Sometimes you can see this very clearly, and it's one of the reasons that white oaks are valued for barrels used in winemaking and beer making, because the white oak wood is not porous. Red oaks, on the other hand, have bristle-tipped and often pointed leaves with more jagged lobes. The shell of their acorns have a pubescence or hairs to them, and often have open wood pores, which would not make red oaks suitable for barrels. And while wildlife appreciate the acorns of red oaks, for us the acorns would be bitter and less than palatable. Here are a list of some of the common white oaks and common red oaks that you would probably encounter in the forests of North Carolina and in the Southeast in general. White oak, of course, Quercus alba, the most common of the white oaks, and some of the common red oaks, northern red oak, southern red oak, and scarlet oak are all fairly common in the mountains, Piedmont, and coastal plain. Taxonomically, the other two groups of oaks include the live oaks and what I call the willow water laurel oaks. Traditionally, these types of oaks, if you're working commercially, would be lumped into the most of them would be lumped into the red oak family, because some of them do have bristle tips, but some don't. So for this course anyway, you can simply go with the bristle tip rule if asked if a species is a red oak or a white oak. So if you run into these species, especially in the future, if you get involved with commercial timber cruising, if it has a bristle tip, call it a red oak, but understand that it actually taxonomically is something different.